it just makes me feel like I'm working to fill that void. But my sister was saying, don't try to make up for lost time. Just be yourself, love like you love, and let the process go. So, and I've always considered myself, a pretty strong fellow and able to handle mine. But my daughter had said something to me when I was in there, and I said, if there was anything that we could do together, what would you like for it to be? And she paused for a moment and she said, we have a father and daughter ball coming up. I crushed. I cried. Here we go. And I'm just saying, man, because you never can get that back, man. That's right.
And that's why it's important for we can have this discussion, to bring this stuff up, this topic up, to bring families back together before being released.
Okay.
It's starting all over again. See, I told you we weren't going to do that.
Yeah, but tell me what you were feeling in that moment.
Oh, man. I think that it was just a series of emotions, just the years that I was there and all the things that I missed, and I felt bad for her, that she's never going to get that back. I can't get that back. And it's just like a culmination of things emotionally just coming down all at one time. My mom passed, and my grandmother, both of my grandmothers passed, and my great grandmother passed. And after 24 years, it don't really hit you all at once. But when it hits, it's a lot. It's like a lot coming down. When I went in there was no cell phones, no super information superhighway, none of that. And then to come out, and I remember seeing people walk down the street talking, and I was like, something's wrong with them. But they actually had their phone in their pocket and was talking on an earpiece, and I didn't put it together.
Right.
And so then it started all coming down. Like, you've been gone a long daggone time, a quarter of a century.
That is a long time. But when I watched the video with you and how you responded to Keelan's question, the first thing that came to my mind was grief, right? I can see that you were grief-stricken. You were grief-stricken by the time you lost, the moments you lost, the people you lost. And so it was compounded grief. Because not only were you grieving the loss of time around your daughter, the loss of your freedom and liberties, the loss of your grandmothers and your mother, you were grieving just thinking about what you lost.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and we know grief is a natural thing. It's a process. It's an emotion that most of us experience, right? I think that you make valid points when you say that there's so much that you missed out on, but I want to ask you this, right? Do you think that the tears also come from a place of considering where you were back then, and that time away helped you to be who you are today?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm much appreciative of that, because some of the things that I did to get there became like futile thoughts. I didn't want to think about those things no more. I didn't want to be that person no more. And I'm thinking to myself that I wouldn't be who I am now if that didn't happen. And as much painful as it was, sometimes that pain is what we need to bring about that change.
Absolutely.
And so we used to have a saying in there that for a lot of people, prison is a dark gift. And, it's people that we watch on TV and we just tune on the radio, celebrities who have actually been in prison.
Right.
And they'll talk about that transformation process.
Right.
That changed their mind, whether it was a week, 6 months, or whatever, that changed their mind. But in that place of grief, pain and all the emotions that you go through, that diamond is being
Shaped and
crushed.
molded.
It's being pushed
The
and it's being
coolest.
crushed and it's being, you're like, I don't like this. But it's something happening.
Yeah.
And there's a transformation taking place. And then when you see the product of the result of that, you're saying, wow, it took that to get
To
here.
create that.
I never would have been the man that I am without going through that diamond process.
Right. And so it also sounds like, based on what you're saying, that there's conflict within about the time spent away, right? Because the time spent away created a void within you that you needed to fill by being with your family. But being with your family in your state that you were in pre-incarceration, that wasn't your destiny, right? That wasn't, you weren't a finished product. And you're still not finished
That's
by
right.
no means necessary,
That's right.
because we're all a work in progress. But I think that the conflict within you is it's almost like you're saying to yourself, is there another way I could have gotten to this place without losing that time?
It's not.
Do you ever ask yourself that?
I have asked myself, would I be the person that I am today had I not spent a quarter of a century there? And the conclusion is absolutely not.
Right. And so you missed out on the daddy-daughter dances, and you missed out on the funerals and the passing of loved ones that you held near and dear to you. But, and I'm going to say, but, had you been out, you wouldn't be the person that you are today,
No.
pretty much. And I think when we think about losing people, right, and we think about the love that we have for people, we also think about what they would want to see us doing.
Yes. Yes.
And that makes you
Yes.
smile, because you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
despite the fact I wasn't here for those things, both my grandmas and my mother, they're looking down proud, right?
I agree.
And so again, that's where the conflicts are within you, right? Because it's like, if it was no this, there would be no that.
Right.
But if there was no that, there would be no this.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right? So there's a reconciliation that needs to occur where you continue to do your healing to the point where you can speak on the things that you spoke on when you were speaking in the healing circle with the men. But the emotion that's evoked won't be that of grief.
Right.
It'll be that of triumph.
And I get to share with other people. And I think that's part of the beauty of it all. Somebody else that's going through that or has been through that, helping them cross that bridge and saying, but look now.
I turn tragedy to triumph.
Exactly. And I'm glad of who I am today. I'm not ashamed of my past. I'm not ashamed of making mistakes. I'm not ashamed of falling short. And I was having a conversation with my attorney, my paid attorney. And we had a conflict going back and forth about some issues to raise. And he was saying, no. I said, well, it's important for you to remember, no offense, that I am the employer and you are the employee. And also what I want in there, I want it in there. And he said, well, I was the one, and I went to law school and I got the law degree. And I said, the only thing that's different between you and I got caught. And he went completely silent.
Radio silence. But and you know, you can laugh at these things today because you know that you are a different person. And I'm gonna close out by saying that when you look, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yes.
Right? And I use the analogy of who you were back then were parts.
Yes.
Right? Because there were different parts of you that was interacting with the people that you loved and cared for. There was part of you that still was in the streets. There's part of you that was still doing this. There's part of you that would be the family man when you're ready. And
Yeah.
but the whole, who you are now, is greater than those parts.
I agree. I
Right.
certainly agree. I do.
And so I think that, you know, like I said, moving forward, it's important to heal. It's important to acknowledge and reconcile. But more importantly, it's important to understand that our journey is what makes us who we are.
Yes.
Right. And like I said, you were able to turn that tragedy into
Yeah.
triumph.
And I like, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk more at some point in the future about that grief. I need to learn
Absolutely.
more about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because like I said, it's an emotion that we all experience. But if we can examine it further, we'll get to be more familiar with why
Right.
we
Right.
grieve in that way.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because grief is kind of abstract, where you kind of hear, you know, get through the grieving process. It's okay to grieve, but how do I process that?
Exactly. And that's something that we can definitely talk more about. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All righty.